Joe?
Yes, Frank?
Huh? It's a dud. Get.
Before he died, Frank Sinatra dropped one of the most jaw-dropping confessions in Hollywood history. He named 5 famous actresses with the worst hygiene. The man who guarded secrets tighter than Fort Knox couldn't take this one to the grave. Known as the chairman of the board, Frank had a legendary obsession with cleanliness and control. Behind the charm and tailored suits, he kept a private blacklist of glamorous stars who, according to him, didn't meet his sky-high personal standards. Frank wasn't just tidy, he was straight-up obsessed. His longtime valet once spilled that Frank could go through 3 outfit changes in one day and even took showers before and after being intimate. Can you imagine that? His cologne collection alone could have paid off someone's mortgage. His sense of smell wasn't just sharp, it ruled his life. That same obsession crept into his friendships and romances, causing more chaos than anyone realized. Around 2 a.m., drink in hand, Sinatra would turn casual late-night hangs into brutal gossip marathons where nobody was safe from his sharp tongue. He'd talk about women he dated like he was reviewing them for a scandal column. His biggest deal breaker? Bad smell. That was his ultimate no-go. One of his old crew members remembered he'd kiss a leading lady's hand on stage and call her darling. Then back at the hotel, he'd scrub his hands raw, cursing about her awful stench. Nothing escaped Frank's judgment, not beauty, not fame, nothing. Now here's where it gets wild. Tonight, we're breaking down the 5 Oscar-winning actresses who, according to Frank, made his secret stench list. These women were worshipped as Hollywood icons, adored on screen, but in Frank's private rants, they were walking hygiene disasters. And this isn't some random rumor. These stories came straight from Frank's inner circle, the people who heard every drunken confession when the scotch was flowing and his guard was down. But this list isn't just about smells. It's a peek into Sinatra's obsession with control. His longtime drummer once said, Frank could control everything, the lights, the tempo, the air conditioning, but not his heart. That's what drove him mad. When a woman got close, he'd start dissecting every little flaw, picking her apart like it was a crime. The deeper he fell, the harsher his words became. And no one got hit harder by his cutting remarks than these 5 women. Let's start with number 5, Shelley Winters. She was wild, loud, and fearless, everything Frank wasn't. Sinatra once told a buddy that kissing Shelley was like licking an ashtray wrapped in a wet dog. Brutal. Shelley stormed into Frank's life around 1950 like a hurricane. She didn't care about perfection, didn't care about rules, and definitely didn't care about impressing him. While Frank was the type to iron his pants while wearing them, Shelley would roll straight out of bed, throw on whatever was lying around, and head out without a second thought. One makeup artist who'd worked with both of them spilled, her apartment looked like a tornado hit a thrift store. She'd wear the same dress for days, eat garlic, and laugh right in your face. That messy, carefree energy clashed hard with Frank's control freak tendencies. Their affair was explosive, fast, and full of tension. It burned bright, then crashed just as quickly. Publicly, Frank played it cool. He blamed his split with Shelley Winters on busy schedules. But behind closed doors, he went off like a firecracker. He roasted Shelley's habits in front of his crew until her name became Hollywood gossip gold, for all the wrong reasons. Even years later, people who knew him said that when Sinatra ranted about Shelley, you could practically smell the story in the air. On screen, Shelley was electric, but off-screen, pure, beautiful chaos. One of Frank's old entourage members claimed her apartment smelled like leftover soup mixed with cheap hairspray. Frank would come back from her place, strip down, and spend nearly an hour scrubbing himself in the shower, muttering about contamination. It got so ridiculous that his staff started joking he needed an exorcism, not a rinse. But here's the twist. Shelley knew exactly what she was doing. She later confessed to a friend, "I knew it drove him crazy when I ate with my fingers, so I'd order the messiest thing on the menu. She'd laugh right after saying it, too. She loved pushing Frank's buttons and shaking up his picture-perfect world. The man was too perfect. Someone had to shake him up, she said with that mischievous grin. Their wild fling in the 50s was doomed from the start. Frank supposedly told his valet, "She's chaos in heels. I can't survive that." Their romance didn't last long, and neither did the air freshener in his house. Now for number 4, Zsa Zsa Gabor. She looked like luxury itself, dripping in diamonds and designer gowns, but Frank swore her perfume could clear out a ballroom. If Shelley was the messy kind of disaster, Zsa Zsa was a chemical explosion in a bottle. The Hungarian beauty practically bathed in Chanel and powdered herself so heavy it was like armor. She'd reapply every 20 minutes like it was her signature move. After one date, Sinatra groaned to his bandmates, "I didn't know if I was with a woman or walking through a duty-free store." Their short-lived romance in 1954 lasted just 6 weeks, about 5 longer than Frank's sinuses could stand. His personal assistant said Frank would stumble home from nights with Zsa Zsa, red-eyed and clutching a handkerchief like it was his last breath. Behind that stunning face and sharp wit, Frank saw what he called a chemical war zone. He once told his crew the scent clung to his tux so bad he burned it instead of sending it to the cleaners. The dry cleaner couldn't kill it. Nothing could. That perfume survived like a cockroach after a nuclear blast, he ranted one night, pacing around with a cigarette and a drink in hand. The final straw came one weekend in Palm Springs. Zsa Zsa, trying to be romantic, sprayed her perfume on his pillow. Big mistake. Frank didn't even stay the night. He packed up and left the next morning without looking back. According to his chef, even days later, he was still fuming, saying, "I can taste her perfume in my food." For 3 days, he kept sending meals back, swearing they were contaminated with Zsa Zsa. The chef finally admitted it was all in his head, but no one dared question Frank's senses if they wanted to keep their job. And now, number 3, Judy Garland. Frank admired her talent like no one else, but her restless, anxious energy was too much for him. He once described her as a nervous breakdown in heels. Both of them were perfectionists, both haunted by the pressures of fame and both battling their own demons. When they sang together, it was pure lightning, magic that gave audiences chills every single time. Their duets, absolute magic, pure fire that lit up every stage they touched. But once those blinding lights dimmed, the dressing room told a darker story. People close to Frank swore that his rants about Judy Garland weren't really about her. They were about him. His longtime road manager revealed Frank wasn't disgusted by Judy's scent. He was terrified by what it reminded him of, his own fears catching up. Judy wasn't just another performer to Frank. She was his mirror, reflecting every crack he tried to hide behind pressed suits and expensive cologne. When he talked about her smell, he was really talking about his fear of losing control, the manager said. And for Frank, control was sacred. He dissected Judy's so-called scent like a scientist gone mad, turning it into some twisted formula. He once broke it down as 40% pharmaceuticals, 30% fear, 20% booze, and 10% talent burning too bright. It sounded dramatic, sure, but it revealed how deep his obsession ran. The sad truth, Frank was fighting the same demons. Pills, booze, crippling anxiety, he knew them all too well. The only difference was that Judy let hers spill into the world, while Frank tried to scrub his away with soap, whiskey, and cologne. While she unraveled, he cleaned. While she drowned her pain, he sterilized every inch of his reality. And yet, Sinatra's feelings for Judy were heartbreakingly real. People close to him swore he might have loved her more deeply than anyone, besides his final wife. but he couldn't separate her soul from the chaos that clung to her. His obsession with perfection built walls higher than any stage curtain. Then came number 2, Marilyn Monroe. Yes, that Marilyn. Frank adored her, he really did, but he was brutally honest about what his sharp nose noticed. He once told a close friend, "She smelled like beauty and breakdown." To him, that scent was tragedy wrapped in glamour, the smell of perfection slowly melting under pressure. Long shooting days, nervous sweat, smudged lipstick, it all blended into what Frank called a sweet rot that haunted him long after she was gone. When whispers spread that Marilyn Monroe, America's golden goddess, had made Sinatra's secret smell blacklist, no one believed it. The woman every man dreamed about? A disappointment to Frank's senses? Impossible. But to Sinatra, that was exactly the problem. He expected her to smell like a fantasy, like silk sheets, vanilla, and sin wrapped in innocence. But when reality hit, it shook him to his core. A makeup artist who'd worked with both of them said, Frank wanted Marilyn to smell like perfection itself, something that doesn't even exist. When he realized she was just human, tired, and stressed like everyone else, he couldn't handle it. Their brief fling in 1961 lined up with Marilyn's growing dependence on pills and alcohol, and Frank swore those vices changed everything, even her scent. To him, it got heavier, sadder, impossible to ignore. She was iconic, he told his inner circle, but even icons sweat through silk. One insider recalled Frank describing almost scientifically how her flawless image faded throughout the day. The foundation melting, the perfume mixing with exhaustion, the medication seeping through her pores. She smelled like a beautiful department store an hour before closing, he said once, when the perfume, sweat, and air conditioning all give up at the same time. But here's the thing, it wasn't cruelty, it was confusion. Marilyn wasn't just a woman to him, she was a symbol, built up as divine and untouchable. And when he realized she was flesh and blood, it shattered something inside him. His longtime doctor summed it up perfectly. Frank couldn't forgive Marilyn for being human. He built her up as a perfect fantasy, and when he caught even a whiff of reality, it broke the spell. For Frank Sinatra, scent wasn't just about smell, it was a symbol. Every woman on his secret list represented something he could never fully control: chaos, chemistry, addiction, imperfection. And for a man who built his world on control, nothing scared him more than the one thing no one can ever scrub clean: being human. It was never truly about them. It was always about Frank's impossible standards. His nose might have started the obsession, but his heart was where the real battle raged. And right at the center of that emotional war stood one woman, Ava Gardner, the love of his life, the one who, in Frank's own words, smelled like war. Their connection wasn't just passionate, it was explosive. Their fights, legendary. Ava was all gin, cigarettes, and fury, Frank once confessed to a friend. I could never quit her, but I could barely breathe around her. She didn't just break his heart, she wrecked his senses. No woman ever invaded Frank Sinatra's world the way Ava did. Their love story, spanning a fiery marriage and decades of obsession, was the heartbeat of his entire life. Even long after their breakup, he couldn't stop talking about her, or more specifically, about the way she smelled. Ava was Frank's addiction, his road manager later revealed. Like any addict, he had this love-hate thing going on. The smell wasn't the issue. It was his way of coping with being powerless around her. Whenever Frank couldn't control his emotions, he shifted focus to what he could control: the air, the order, the scent. It was his ritual, his defense against the storm she brought into his life. As time went on, Sinatra's descriptions of Ava's scent got more poetic and more tortured. What started as offhand gripes about cigarettes and booze turned into these deep emotional monologues. He'd describe her like a piece of music, each scent a note in a song only he could hear. The deeper his feelings ran, the more dramatic his words became. After a few drinks, Frank would talk about Ava's scent like it was a curse and a prayer rolled into one. He'd call it the perfume of self-destruction, a smell that was impossible to resist even when it hurt. One of his bandmates from the 60s recalled him saying, "Kissing Ava was like licking an ashtray while being punched in the heart." And every time he said it, his eyes would drift off like he was chasing a memory he couldn't let go of. Ava wasn't like the others, the rest of the women on that list. Easy for Frank to box up, too much perfume, too much mess, too much chaos. But Ava, she was all of it, wrapped into one breathtaking, destructive storm. His obsession for control clashed violently with his desire for her, and that tension haunted him until the end. His psychiatrist once said, "Frank never resolved Ava. That's why he could never stop talking about her scent. It became his symbol of passion, pain, and the one thing he couldn't control." Every time Frank said she smelled like trouble, he didn't mean bad hygiene. He meant she was his weakness. Her scent wasn't just a memory. It was a mark burned into his soul, something no amount of soap or cologne could erase. Even as the decades passed and other names faded into gossip history, Ava Gardner stayed at the very top of Sinatra's blacklist. Not because she actually smelled worse than anyone else, but because she lingered. Like smoke after a fire, she clung to his memory. Her scent became a ghost that haunted every woman who came after, a blend of desire, regret, and heartbreak that followed him right to his final breath. And here we are, the truth behind it all, the final brutal twist in Frank Sinatra's story. This was never really about perfume, sweat, or soap. It was about control. Frank built his entire world around keeping everything in perfect order. He didn't just sing, he commanded his voice like a weapon. He could walk into any room and shift the whole mood with one look. Even his pocket square had to be folded just right. He rehearsed until exhaustion, terrified any musician who missed a note, and snapped at lighting guys if a single cue came late. Frank could bend the room to his rhythm, but when it came to his own emotions, that's where the cracks showed. That's where he lost his grip. As his psychiatrist once said, Frank's obsession with how women smelled was never about hygiene. It was self-defense. Those scents he complained about, they weren't sources of disgust. They were reminders of his own vulnerability. Every fragrance that threw him off was a mirror, reflecting something he couldn't control inside himself. For a man who demanded perfection in every note, every performance, every glance, love was the one thing that refused to follow orders. And that's what truly broke him. Whenever someone got close enough to break through Frank's walls, whenever a woman made him feel something he couldn't contain, he'd retreat into judgment. It was easier for him to say, "She smells bad," than to admit, "She makes me feel vulnerable." Every time his emotions slipped through the cracks, he tightened his grip on what he thought he could control, his senses. That was his pattern. The more power a woman had over his emotions, the more likely she was to end up on that infamous olfactory blacklist. It wasn't about scent, it was about survival. One of his longtime sound engineers put it best. Frank weaponized his sensitivity. And he wasn't exaggerating. Sinatra could pick out a flat note in a 40-piece orchestra, name the vineyard of a wine after one sip, and identify a cologne brand from across the room. Those weren't random quirks. They were armor. Every detail he controlled kept him safe from the chaos of feeling too much. By turning raw, messy emotions into neat sensory judgments, Frank created his illusion of control. If he said a woman smelled wrong, it wasn't rejection, it was camouflage. It gave him the illusion that he was in charge when deep down, he was terrified by how much those women got under his skin. His road manager nailed it when he said, The women who made Frank's smell list were the ones who made him feel something real. The stronger the emotion, the harsher the complaint. And that's why Ava Gardner always sat at the top of that list, because no one else ever consumed his senses or his heart like she did. His nose wasn't the real issue. It was his heart, burning too hot, too wild, too vulnerable. But here's the real truth bomb. The actual stench in this story didn't come from 5 glamorous actresses. It came from something much deeper. The rot hiding beneath Hollywood's golden glow. The smell wasn't about bad perfume or soap. It was the reek of ego, power, and the lies that kept it all polished. The real stench was fame itself. The toxic mix of male pride, fragile control, and the industry's obsession with image over honesty. Frank Sinatra could pass judgment on powerful women because the system let him. He lived inside a bubble built by fame, an accountability-free zone where nobody ever told him no. A former studio executive from the 60s once said, "Nobody ever told Frank no. Not his mother, not the studios, not even his crew. Once he became valuable, everyone around him just nodded along." That power shielded him from criticism and turned his personal hang-ups into Hollywood history. And that's exactly how legends are born. Inside Sinatra's tight circle, his opinions weren't just tolerated, they were celebrated. His entourage turned his insecurities into gospel, repeating them until they sounded like truth. One of his longtime friends even confessed, "We all laughed when Frank went off about women's smells, even though we knew it was nonsense. Some of us dated the same women and didn't notice a thing." But the rule was simple. If Frank said it, you agreed, or you were out. That culture of yes men transformed his private fixations into public myth. Each dramatic rant became a headline within his crew, then filtered through Hollywood's rumor mill until it came out sparkling with scandal. And Hollywood, being Hollywood, did what it does best. It repackaged gossip into entertainment, polishing the madness until it glimmered under the spotlight. Meanwhile, the women caught in his stories had to live under brutal double standards. These actresses weren't just glamorous icons. They were workers, hustling under relentless pressure to stay flawless. They were expected to smile, shine, and sparkle even when they were exhausted, heartbroken, or sick. They couldn't afford to look human in an industry that punished imperfection. Yet the moment a man like Sinatra spoke, the story stopped being theirs. It became his. The spotlight turned, the headlines flipped, and their reality was rewritten to fit his narrative. So maybe the real story here isn't about perfume, soap, or bad smells. It's about how fame, ego, and unchecked power can twist personal pain into legend. Sinatra wasn't just describing the women in his life. He was projecting his own fears, his own cracks beneath the cool image. Every complaint about scent was really a confession, a way to mask the parts of himself he couldn't control. The truth is, Frank wasn't haunted by anyone else's flaws. He was haunted by his own. And that's the real scandal behind Frank Sinatra's secret blacklist. It wasn't about hygiene, it was about humanity. It showed how the world of fame protects its kings while blaming its queens, how a man's insecurities can become a woman's burden, and how myths are built on silence, power, and a whole lot of perfume. If you loved diving into this wild piece of hidden Hollywood history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us which part shocked you the most and what celebrity mystery you want us to uncover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.